Bonjour, everyone. Hi, this is Neshi Lokotz. Welcome to Star Nations Organization's main fan page here at Facebook, where I do a daily live stream about the divination cards that I draw in the morning. And the cards are really all about a general, right, information for all of us, so that it's not an individual card read. We got a lot of asks, requests yesterday for that. I just wanted to say that up front. Yeah, so today is Friday, January 4th. Can you believe that? The fourth day already of the new year, 2019. It is a gorgeous, and I say gorgeous day here in northwestern Wisconsin. I live in Tomah, or near Tomah, I should say. And we have blue skies, and it's like 42 degrees out there. Yeah, at the beginning of January. Who knew? George and I were out before the live stream, and we were kind of running around the woods and taking a walk on the road and that kind of thing. And I didn't have my winter jacket on. I had a fleece jacket on, but not a winter jacket. And it's just really so nice out there. Yeah, it's good. It's good. Before we get started with the card draw information and all the chit chat, I'm going to take my phone and I'm going to like and share the broadcast. And I'd appreciate it if you would join me in doing that, only if you want to. Only if you want to. The reason why we even ask that is so that Facebook gets us into the news feed much more often, and that it's easier for people to find us that way, because there's just so much information being shared every minute on Facebook that it really is easy for things to get buried, right, under all that information. All right, so I'm liking and I'm sharing to my personal news feed so that my friends know that I'm live streaming. And please join me. Oops. There we go. Hit the wrong key. There. That was easy enough, right? And usually Stephanie, and I don't remember if Stephanie's going to be in the house. We'll have to see. Give her a couple minutes here. She is our social media manager, and she's going to be doing the sharing to all the other pages and groups that we have. And Julie Shumway Hill's here. Hi, Julie. Good to have you in the house. And she shared already. Thank you so much, Julie. I do appreciate that. So let's see. I just want to make sure I've got my sound down so we don't get all squelchy. There we go. Stephanie is in the house. I see it on my phone, but not in the studio. We got about a 15-second delay. By the time you hear what I just said, it's 15 seconds has passed, and by the time your message enters the comments section, it's been 15 seconds since you typed it and entered. Hi, Stephanie's in the house. So good to see you here. So I only shared to my own newsfeed, Stephanie. So if you wouldn't mind doing the others, I really would appreciate it. Let's see. All I'm doing really is got my blinders on. I'm very, very focused on the magazine. We have some new items coming into the January issue that really needs my attention, and making some decisions about space and all of that. And so it's been, I actually started last night working on it nonstop, and Paul, my husband, also helps with the magazine. He's one of the editors of the final PDF, just to get the final tweaks and catch any misspellings or misuse of words or things like that, right? And so he started last night, and he usually goes through it at least twice, 3 times if he has the time, but twice for sure. And so he started last night too. So it was all about Star Nations magazine last night. So yeah, and then we wake up to this gorgeous weather, and it's so hard to stay inside when it's this nice out, don't you think? I know. And it almost feels like spring out there. I know it's not. I know I live in northern Wisconsin, and there is no such thing as spring until May. Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I've lived in north central Wisconsin, and we had a cabin up there, and a pond. And sometimes that pond still had ice on it in June. Yeah, we don't have that cabin anymore. It was a kind of a nice place to be, but we don't have it anymore. So the card draw is very interesting this morning. When I called my spiritual team in to help and to show me what's most important for us to know about the energy today, let's see, I'm shuffling, and usually what happens is that a card will jump out, and that's the card that is meant for us, right? Well, today, a whole bunch, I mean, it just literally fell out, and I'm going, all of those. we're gonna go over all of those, and there must have been like eight cards, and it was like no. And so I fanned them out, and as I'm asking to show me which is the first card, I realized that as I was doing, because what I do is I fan it out like this, right? And then I hold it in my left hand and I run my right hand over the top. And I can feel a sensation in the palm of my hand. It's almost like it's drawing, pulling. And I realized, I haven't done it that way in such a long time. When I first started working with spirit in this way, when I studied feng shui and was doing space clearings more publicly, and working with energy that way, using my intuition and practicing everything everywhere. And even when I would go to other readers, especially tarot, you're they'll hand you the deck and you shuffle, right? And they do the spread, and you select the cards. At least the readers that I went to had me do that. And that's how I would practice. I'd run my hand over the top of the cards and feel which one wanted to be picked. And it was kind of like a nice reminder about how our body is a sacred tool, right? And it divines for us all the time, even when we don't pay attention to it. There's information, subtle information, they call it. In other words, it may not be even in the physical world. It could be in the unseen, right? And we sense it. So when we turn our attention to it is really when the information is probably the most strongest. Yeah. I don't know, how do you guys ever do that? Sensing, Yeah. So here we go. Hey, Carrie's here. Hello, Carrie. Yeah, remember, Carrie, I don't do individual card draws. Yeah, we went over that yesterday. I'm going to be talking about the two cards that came this morning in the card draw that I did for all of us. Okay. And so whatever part resonates with you, that's the part that's for you. And you can see how it fits into your day as the energy unfolds for you. Yeah. It's good to have you in the house, though. Yeah. Good to have you here. All right. So this is the first card that came. And we haven't had this card in a really long time. This is Elder. Elder. This card, when you look at the man's face, what I see there is a lot of wisdom, kindness, Yeah. That's what I see. And I love the artwork in the background. Aboriginal cave paintings in the background. And if you notice his staff, we only see part of his staff, and it's really pretty plain, right? It's really pretty plain. There's not much decoration, or, we've seen some staffs that have like dream catchers and crystals and etchings, but his is just really simple, very plain. Yeah. It says move beyond ancestral patterns. Move beyond ancestral patterns. Yeah. I don't know. To me, this is kind of like what you'd think an elder would look like if we were doing a stereotype, right? Because there's a lot of elders that I know that are very wise and very kind, and but they wear tie-dyed T-shirts and flip-flops. Yeah. So when we're talking about elders, elders of any people, right? Not just Aboriginal, not just Native American, not just Celtic, but any elder. And for what I think the second time we ever had this card, we talked about what is an elder? What is an elder? And there's this kind of definition that kind of goes across all cultures, and that is somebody who has life experience, right? And that they are helpful. They're helpful, and when you go to them, they don't shame you. They don't talk down to you. And what I have in my mind right now as a memory is an elder. Every time I would go and see her, to ask her for help, really, to help me interpret a dream, or if the stuff going on in your daily life kind of stuff, But whenever I showed up to her house, she was always welcoming, and she always made me tea. And we'd sit at her kitchen table and we would chit chat. We'd talk about the weather. We would talk about gardening. We'd talk about everything but, what I was there to talk about. And culturally, in my culture, not to look at an elder directly, right into the eyes, out of respect. And especially when they're talking to you, whether if they're telling you a story or if they're really relating a piece of information directly, is that in my culture, that if you look them in the eyes, you're not paying attention to what they're saying. You're not paying attention. In other words, listen, because when we start looking and attending to it, our mental mind kicks in, and then we're racing ahead, forming the questions in our head, right? And waiting until they're actually finished speaking before you say anything. That's the hard part, is to be patient and listen and wait until they're finished. So as elders go, sometimes they're few and far between. Sometimes. When we were in Wales a couple of years ago, I was asking questions about who their storytellers were, and some of the guys were saying, "Oh, my granny used to tell me stories, or she would tell us stories about, our ancestors." But when she passed away, when she died, those stories weren't shared anymore. And so, so every culture really has elders, but sometimes they're kind of far and few between. And we've also learned that just because you're a chronological age doesn't mean that you're a wise elder. When the Standing Rock, the water protection stuff was going on, and the elders were there. Some of them were very, very helpful with, teaching people about ceremony and that. But there was also some older people there that weren't. They were, and it didn't matter the color of the skin or where they came from. It's just that they were more self-centered. They weren't as giving, and they would actually be the ones supplying, the alcohol or the drugs on the outside of the gate, kind of thing, or coming into camp high. And so what we learned in that is that chronological age doesn't mean that you have wisdom. It means that you may have experience, but you don't have the wisdom that goes along with it. And some of those, so there was a new term that was coined there. It was oldsters, not elders, but olders. Um, just because you're older doesn't mean that you have wisdom. It depends on the life lesson and how you applied that life lesson. And it actually, I think it also goes to speak to how much you're helpful to someone else, yeah. So, there we are. We have that discernment too, right? To discern who is an elder in your life and what are they there? What are they teaching? What are they teaching? Yeah, Carrie's saying, wow, his face makes my heart race. It does, doesn't it? Yeah. And she's saying that my dad was an elder in the church. Oh, yeah. And there's lots of different definitions for that word, isn't there? Yeah. Carrie says, a church leader, I'm not religious anymore. Yeah, it's sorting through all those belief systems, isn't it? And what supports you and what doesn't. Because I did the same thing with my religion. I don't really prescribe to any organized religion by my own choice. But I grew up with more of a Native American belief system, and also some Lutheran thrown in there, and so I know what you mean, Carrie. I'm much more spiritual than I am religious. Yeah. Yep. Oops. Sorry. She says, funny how we're always told by our parents, look at me when I'm talking to you. I think it's a cultural thing. I really do. In the Ho-Chunk culture, which would have been my grandmother on my mom's side, the elders, the traditional people, they still have a belief that if you're an in-law, especially a son-in-law, and he's talking to his mother-in-law, that he doesn't look directly at her because it's disrespectful. And so, and then also in the Ho-Chunk culture, my grandma used to do this, is that if she was showing you something or telling you something and you were looking at her, she would say, pay attention to me, listen to what I'm saying. Okay, because when we looked at them, our minds were racing in the conversation and not paying attention. But if you look down or you look away and you're intently listening, you're rather blocking out everything else and attending to what they're saying. Yeah. And another thing, right, Carrie, is that going to school in a public school system, right? When a teacher would be asking or talking or something like that, and they'd be telling us, the native kids, is to look them in the eye, is to show them respect and to show that you're especially when you're speaking, that you're telling the truth. That if you look away or look down, you're not trustworthy. It's like, what? So, learning how to communicate in different environments. Yeah, literally walking in two worlds, in the physical world. And then you add the spiritual world to that. And there's three of them, right? Yeah. She's saying it's easy to listen without eye contact. I do it a lot and get mistaken for being rude. Yeah, I know. It depends on the culture the people that you're with, right? I used to do that in my state job. You're in the conference room and you're having a team meeting, right? And the person who's speaking, everybody, it has their attention. They're looking at them, and I wouldn't be. I would be looking down. I would be looking out the window, but I was listening. And really, I was the one who was coming up with the questions after they were finished. It's like, but did you consider this, or that? And they didn't think I was listening, right? Well, my coworkers learned that just because I wasn't looking at them doesn't mean I wasn't attending to them. Yeah. Yeah. All right. And Carrie has also said, my children have autism, and their lack of eye contact makes a lot of sense in this topic, as it's too much stimuli. Yeah. And really, having a point of a visual point, if you're looking at a certain object, almost kind of reminds me of. Now, I never had kids, I've only heard this. Okay, is that when you're going through labor pains, that if you have a point of reference, that if you concentrate on that point of reference, that it's easier to breathe through the pain. And so when you're listening to somebody and they're especially if they're talking for a long time, is that if you have a point of reference, something that calms the rest of your mental mind is attending to that. And so that the rest of you is really attending to what is being said in so many different layers, right? So that we're listening with all of our being, not just what we're hearing or what we're seeing, but the entire being. And I think that elders like this, when when they're with their grandchildren, right? When they're with their grandchildren, you can kind of see the inattentiveness sometimes and how they deal with that. Yeah. But with this card, they say move beyond ancestral patterns. In other words, here we are again, sifting through our belief systems and what is supporting us and what isn't, letting go of those things that no longer support us. There's a lot of beliefs around DNA, right? And the information that our DNA holds. I do believe that our cellular memory, our memories coming from our ancestors, are in our blood and our bones. I do believe that. I do believe that we carry both the positive memories, the wisdom, and we also carry the trauma. If they didn't heal the trauma in their lifetime, it's past, or any of the ancestors didn't heal the trauma, and that means that the descendants carry it, right? And so when we're talking about our own healing in a spiritual way, to remove those blocks, those interferences, the debris that covers up our gifts, that impede our intuition, the use of it. When we turn our attention to those items and to heal them and to release them, we're not just doing our own personal work, which is huge in of itself, but we also do the healing for our ancestors. And so we believe that goes back 7 generations and forward 7 generations. So your descendants don't have to deal with that ancestral trauma. There's something called historical trauma. And I have come to believe that we all have it in some regard, in some way, coming from our ancestors. And then we add on to it with our own life. That historical trauma. For instance, as a Native American, the being put on reservations and literally prisoners of war kind of thing, and how the language was they were trying to strip us of the language and of the culture, and genocide, and and I could keep going on and on and on. But when you're looking at current day, and if we're still holding on to that pain, then we're only hurting ourselves. And so to be able to actually identify what piece needs to be healed in this moment, at this time, is so beneficial for everybody. And that's what this particular card is referencing, is when they say move beyond ancestral patterns, is to keep the ones that really, really support you and support you in your soul growth. And anything less than that is to allow it to be released. Yeah. And the other thing about our DNA is that there used to be a pretty wide belief that because my ancestor had a heart condition, that it was passed down through the generations, and so I have this now in my medical list of things. You know, yeah. I think that our culture kind of holds some of that because of our lifestyle. And so when we change our lifestyle, some of those symptoms and diseases can go away when we change our lifestyle, when we change our belief systems too. We don't have to stay locked into that. It's almost like the word that comes to mind is cursed. For instance, my grandfather had a heart condition. He had several heart attacks. My mother has a heart condition. She had heart failure, right? And so, the medical world would say that I have a propensity for a heart condition. Well, okay, that's a possibility, but I don't have to. I can believe that I can change my lifestyle. I can do the healing around the heart and the heart traumas, the emotional traumas, repair that broken heart that goes back generations, right? That's my belief. And so it's also, in a way, very, very much taking back your own power, And I'm not saying that the medical world isn't needed, because they are. But we also have to remember that this is our body, and it's our responsibility to take care of this vessel that holds our spirit. It holds our spirit. Yeah. Let's see who's in the chat. What's going on in the chat? Let's see. Okay. Oops. I'm trying to scroll, and my button is kind of a little wonky. Doesn't want to scroll. There we go. All right. So let's see what the author of the books, the cards, say. Kyle Gray. So the elders move beyond ancestral patterns. The message is move beyond the limitations that have been set for you by family members, past and present. Know that the energy of your spirit is more powerful than genetics and behavioral patterns. So, when we take a look at, alcoholism and drug abuse, and, and they say that the authorities, the medical people, the social workers, that's the they I'm talking about. What if we grew up around it, that we have this in our lifestyle, and so the probability goes up to be an alcohol or drug abuser, right? And so they kind of plant that thought, and I'm saying that you don't have to be. You don't have to be. If you make a choice, to end that cyclical lifestyle, is that you can. And I've seen it. I watched it happen in my own family. That we can end that kind of way of being, right? And there's so many layers to it. The more layers that you heal and release, the closer and closer we get to our original vibration, our original frequency that we came in with. We came in with our unique song, right? And so that, I think, is part of our soul work here too. our soul contract is to get as back to as much as possible our original vibration, our original song that we came in with. Yeah. All right. So Kyle goes on to say that the Aboriginal people are the oldest tribal people still living on the planet. The hunter-gatherer culture and ancient spirituality are rooted in tradition and balance with the earth. So the Aboriginal ancestors are offering you not only wisdom that will help you heal and adapt to the ever-changing planet, but also an understanding of what a spiritual life should be. That's up to you, right? To you to define. You to define that. Stephanie is saying, my family spent a small fortune on etiquette classes to teach me to make eye contact. Yes, it's easier to listen when not making eye contact. Yeah. And I honestly, believe that that there was a time, maybe so many generations ago, that we all were like that. Because think about it. When we're walking in the woods, if you're on a hike and you're walking, do you stop and just listen? Listen to the woods. What's going on there? What do you hear, right? You don't necessarily look directly at whatever that is that you stop and you listen. You listen to the birds, you listen to the wind going through the trees, you listen to that squirrel, you listen to maybe the footsteps of a deer, but you're not looking right at it, but you're hearing it. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Somebody says, my kiddo is deaf and has autism. Lack of eye contact is a huge issue in the deaf community and the hearing community. Yeah, I think that is a prime example, Stephanie, of culture, the environment that you're residing in, because in a deaf community, if you're reading lips or if you're using sign language, you have to actually look at the person in order to get the information, right? So it's a way of communicating in that way. So I really think that it's about culture and it's about your environment. One isn't wrong and one isn't right. It depends on what works best for you in your situation, right? And not have to go by society rules, but what works best for you in that community. Hi, Elizabeth. She says, may I have a card and message from Spirit regarding my twin flame union? Does he have anything to say to me? Elizabeth, I don't do individual card readings. Okay. This particular reading is about the cards that I draw in the morning, contacting my spiritual team and asking them to show me what is the most important information for us to know about today, for our highest good. So anything that's shared that resonates with you, that's for you. If it doesn't, that's okay. That doesn't hurt anybody's feelings, right? But no, we don't do individual readings here. We do have on Star Nation's radio network, where we do our live stream shows now from Facebook. We do have 2 shows that do individual card reads, and that is the Tarot Journey with Julie Hedges. And she has a monthly show that's on the 3rd Monday of the month at 9 p.m. Eastern. And about 10 or 15 minutes at the end of her show, she'll do some individual card reads. And then the other show is a weekly show, and that's called Soul Connections with Polly Jo LeBay. The first half of the show is a healing meditation, and the second half of the show is individual card draws. And so if that's something that you enjoy being a part of, those are two shows that we offer that do the individual card reads. So, All right. So glad you're here, though, Elizabeth. I'm glad you stopped in and you're here with us. Here we go. Yeah, and Stephanie just posted the shows and their information. So thank you for that, Stephanie. Hey, Bobby's here. He says, "Good day, friend. I choose spirituality. Me too. Sharing you with my granddaughter today. She's 4 and says she likes your smiley face. Well, thank you. I love that we're at a time space that we can change the cultural memes. Yes, exactly. That we have the choice, right? The choice. And in that choice, we're doing our soul work. You know, when we're sifting through our belief systems and what do we believe? And does that support my soul growth? Or is it based in fear and holding me back? You know, whatever it is, whether you keep the entire belief or parts of the belief and let the rest go. That's really up to you. But it is it's very helpful because when we do that kind of work, we really get to know ourselves even better, even better. And so we can stand in our truth then, rather than trying to make ourselves comfortable in someone else's truth, someone else's belief system, right? Yeah. But that also leads to the healing work that we do. Because usually when we're going through the belief systems, some of the trauma that we've experienced is around those belief systems. And so we get to face our fears, heal what needs to be healed, and release what needs to be released. And with that, we have more access to our spiritual gifts that we came in with. And we also have more access to our intuition, and our self-confidence in our intuition starts to build because we trust ourselves, right? And we trust spirit. Yeah. All right. So what else did Kyle say? He says that the elder is the ancestor who comes with a message of healing change. He's embodied soul, yet has had journeys to go beyond the physical. Therefore, he represents a reclamation of power. When he appears, it's an acknowledgement that you have the capacity to move beyond the limitations that have been placed upon you. If you have had expectations of success, failure, sadness, or even sickness placed upon you by your family, it's important to know that you are here to create your own story. To create your own story. This card represents personal healing that will bring healing to your family lineage, past, present, and future. Know that you get to decide what you take on. And also know that your ancestors are rooting for you and are sorry for any setbacks that they have created for you. Yeah. So, you know, I'm at some point in time in our lives that we will become the ancestor. Take that in for a second. At some point in time, we become the ancestor. And so what are we leaving to our descendants? What kind of blessings are we leaving for them? What kind of unattended traumas that we experienced that we didn't have the courage to face? What is that doing for them or to them? So really, you know, when we say that it's important to do our own healing work, it is. It really, really is. Because, you know, it makes our life so much richer, right? More abundant in blessings. But it also helps us to help our descendants that we may not even know yet. If you're not a grandparent yet, if you're not a parent yet, you don't know. You don't know who your descendants are going to be. You know, genealogy, right? For a while there, it was like huge stuff, huge. And everybody was finding out about their family trees and who is who in the zoo kind of thing. and which is good, I think. Again, going back to my own culture, we know who we're related to. Why? Is because our parents and our grandparents talk about it all the time. Oh, that one was your aunt's third cousin, and this is how we're related. You know, he was married to her, and they had those children, and they named the children. And so, knowing our grandparents back at least 3 or 4 generations, what their names were, and where they lived, and yeah. So, the family tree, right? And so we get to imagine our descendants, and what do we want to leave them? Because they're going to have a chance to go through it themselves too, right? They're going to go through their own belief systems and say, that one I don't get. That one makes me feel funny. That one I'm afraid of. So they get to sift through their own belief systems too. But we can certainly give them a helping hand, right? And heal our own personal traumas, our own mental traumas and emotional traumas. We could heal those. Yeah, so that they don't have to deal with it. It's kind of like cleaning up our own mess. Cleaning up our own side of the street. Yeah. All right, I'm going to show you that first card one more time. The Elder, moving beyond ancestral patterns. Yeah. Asking the people in the chat, has anybody been to Australia? Been to the Outback? That sort of thing. We do have, in the January issue of Star Nations magazine, we do have a featured article. It's called Aboriginal Spiritual Wisdom. And it's written by Dr. Hank Weisselman, who had studied and lived in Australia and has contact with elders there. And he wrote this a blog article about it. And when I was researching about bringing that information to Star Nations readers, out of all the ones that I read, and I read like 6 of them, his was probably the most personable. He really spoke from his heart when he wrote this. And so I contacted him and asked him if we could republish his blog article and open up that dialogue, that conversation about understanding another aspect of spirituality. And he was so kind about it. So we will have this article. We publish on January 10th. And so we will have this article in the magazine. Yeah. Yeah. So Roberta's been to Australia. Yay. And Samson, I love being in Australia. One of the best times of my life. See, that's on my list. I want to go, but I don't want to go to this touristy stuff. I want to be able to sit with some of the elders if I can, and listen to the stories. I want to know about the fires, because Potawatomi, I'm a fire keeper. That's what we're called, and so I'm interested in their creation story. I'm interested in their connection to fire. I'm interested in how they use fire in ceremony. That's what I'm interested in. Yeah. Good to know that we have some people in the house that have been to and experienced Australia. They say that the movie Australia with what's her name, Kidman, was pretty close to the truth about the culture and that era where the government were taking children and doing to them what they did to the natives here. So the movie Australia. All right, so the second card, let me see the time here. All right, second card. We haven't had this card yet. There's only a couple we haven't gone over before. The Sun. The Sun. Yeah, and it says, enjoy success and happiness. Enjoy success and happiness. The Sun. And I kind of like this depiction of the sun. It does also remind me of cave paintings, I have to admit. Yeah, I like it. The sun. Father Sky, Grandfather Sky, the sun. You know, in the Unity Breath meditation, which we do here, communications from home, the last Tuesday of the month, we do the Unity Breath meditation together. And, you know, gathering all of our love that we have for Grandfather Sky and sending it up to the sun. That's what went through my mind when I pulled that card. Is as much as I love the moon, I also love the sun. You know, what it's like to be slowing down enough to actually enjoy it and feeling the warmth on your skin, right? Especially when you're in wintertime and being able to stand in the sun or sit in the sun for a bit. You know, and how much we rely on it, right? It's without the sun, we wouldn't have life on Earth without the sun. Think about that, right? You know, anytime it's ever, we go through solar eclipses and how that affects our spiritual growth, solar flares. You know, for a while there, they were saying that they were, because solar flares are a danger to electronic equipment. Some people equated that to our cells, right? That solar flares are bad for us. Solar flares have intense information download. And many times that's what we're feeling on our mental body, not so much on our emotional body, but on our mental body. And so we're getting these massive downloads when we have solar flares. And so one of the things that's helpful to me anyway is that I get grounded to Grandmother Earth and I accept all the positive aspects of the solar flares, just like I do for Mercury retrograde. I accept all the gifts that the Mercury retrograde brings, and I release anything less than that. And so solar flares. So the sun is really, really important to our survival here on our blue planet. And I take a drink of water. Okay, so let's see what Kyle has to say about the sun. Enjoy success and happiness. The message is, know that doors are opening for you. Follow up new projects, ventures, and ideas. Connect with the inner fire that is driving you forward, your inner sun. You know, Polly Jo talks about that a lot, doesn't she? The inner sun. Connect with the inner fire that is driving you forward. The sun has long been associated with the energy of success. It's the most powerful planet in the solar system. So, of course, when the sun card appears in a reading, it will bring power, success, and light. It brightens up all connections, banishes darkness, brings a sense of youthfulness, and invites you to connect to the energy of joy so that you can be the light in spirit and heart. Ooh, I like that. Let's read that last piece again. Brings a sense of youthfulness and invites you to connect to the energy of joy so that you can be light in spirit and heart. You are being surrounded by the brightness of the sun at this time. Opportunities to feel and be successful are swirling and dancing around you, swirling and dancing around us. Relationships and friendships progress with joy, and you'll feel happy and uplifted. If you're not somewhere bright and sunny right now, there will be other ways in which you can enjoy warmth and joy. Solar energy brings health, vitality, and energize and warm, and it's encouraging everything to grow. The energy of the expansion is with you at this time, and you're being offered the perfect opportunity to move forward. If you want to bring something to your life, or you're ready to take on a new step in a relationship, the sun will bring the right energy to you. If you're asking a question, the answer is most definitely yes. So this is a very happy card. This is a very joyful card. This is a very uplifting card. And when you pair the two together, and you put these two together, and they're talking about releasing ancestral patterns, healing those traumas, emotional and mental traumas, doing the work, not just talking about it, right? But actually doing it. If you've been procrastinating about facing a certain fear or certain trauma, take a baby step forward. Reach out for help. Write that journal. Go to that healer. Say the prayers. Do the ceremony. Because in doing that, in achieving that, in completing that healing process for yourself, that layer, whatever layer that is, that it's going to be successful. That your life is going to feel joyful and uplifting. I think this is the combination of these two cards, I think is encouraging. Encouraging. Spirit is saying that, that we're doing the work. We're doing the work. We're going to realize the success of it. However you define that success for yourself. And for me, when we're doing that healing work and we're taking a look at the ancestral healing, it's going to make my life, and has made my life, a whole lot better because I did that work. I did the healing around those things. Am I completely done? Probably not. I'm still here. We're still growing. We're still expanding. There's always a layer to address. Always. And so when we do that work and break those cycles, we're really helping our ancestors and our descendants. And I think that's a great thing. So I think, I don't know how you guys feel, but I think this is a very uplifting and encouraging reading. Cards that were given to us by Spirit. Julie Hill is saying, I have lots of sun in my life right now, and I'm attracting even more for 2019. Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot. It's a good one, Julie. Thanks for sharing that. So, every day, this is what I say, what I offer to you is, if any of this resonated with you, that felt good to you, that spoke to you, is to please embrace it. Pick it up and embrace it, and see how it can help you and assist you, how the energy is unfolding around you, right? Whether you're a direct participant in actually doing the work, or if you're witnessing, bearing witness to someone's growth, both are really great, and both we're learning something from it. And if it didn't resonate with you, that's okay. That's all right. Don't worry about it. You're not going to hurt anyone's feelings at all. It just wasn't for you, right? Possibly you're the messenger. That you might know somebody that enjoys this kind of conversation or information, and you can just share the link with them to the recorded show, and then you're done. You don't have to do anything more with it. So don't worry about it. And with that, you know, we got some good stuff coming up next week for shows, live stream shows. We have From Star to Stone with Mervyn Kelly at 9 a.m. Eastern. He is talking about the new year. So here's 2019. What are we going to do with it? You know, and he comes from a perspective, he's a modern day druid. He lives in England, and sorry about that. That was a client. I think they forgot that I'm doing a live stream at this time. Sorry about that. So anyway, Mervyn Kelly from Star to Stone on Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And then we have Polly Jo LeBay at noon Eastern time. And Polly Jo, she's all about chakras, right? So the first part of the show is like a mini class. She's going to have a topic for us, and she talks about the chakras in that topic. And then the second half of the show is a healing meditation around that topic. And so that's at noon on Tuesday. And then Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern is my weekly show, Communications from Home. And we're going to be sharing about the January issue of Star Nations magazine, the first one for 2019. We got some really good stuff in there for you. So join me on Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern is Soul Connections with Polly Jo LeBay. If you are an energy worker or a light worker and you haven't done your own healing work, taking care of yourself, that night is for you. Okay? She helps us. We go in with our own intention of healing or releasing, and our spiritual team, and she and her spiritual team assist us in that healing. So, and that can be a pretty powerful night with all of us together doing that kind of healing. And then she does the card read in the second half. And I think that's it for next week. That's enough, huh? So with that, enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of your Friday. I'll be back here tomorrow on Saturday, 2 p.m. Central, 3 Eastern for the daily card read live stream. I had to stop there for a second because my 5-month-old puppy is playing with my hand, and you know how they kind of mouth your hand. Yeah, that's what he was doing. And so anyway, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Ba Mamina, that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. Love you guys.